I suppose when I set a poem to music, it's because I really like the poem and I want other people to like it too. And I want to show it to them. And you can't just wander around the streets bailing people up saying, listen to this poem. So turning it into a piece of music is a good way of doing that. I, generally speaking, set to music words that I admire a lot. And so therefore I want the words to be heard. I'm that kind of composer. There are other composers, and this is a perfectly valid way to work, who splinter the text and are more interested in what the voice can do, and actually don't really care that much about the text. There's nothing wrong with that approach, but my drive is usually from the words to the music, and so losing the words would be like losing the rationale for the piece. So I want them to be quite clear. I read poetry a lot, and they jump out at me when they need to be set to music. And maybe the most extreme example of this was with the piece that I wrote for Halcyon, Willow Songs, where I was actually reading the Times literary supplement, and there was a review of the collected poems of Anne Stevenson, and I didn't know Anne Stevenson. She wasn't a name I recognised. And I was reading this review, and by about the bottom of the first column, I had already decided I had to make a song cycle from her words, just on the basis of the lines that had been quoted thus far in the review. Right? And I bought the book and found the poems that I needed, and that's how. So there was something about the words that immediately told me that there was music here. And I'd like to be able to tell you what it was about the words that told me this, but I don't think I can. My general approach is to read the poem over and over again and find the music that's already there and then amplify it, I suppose. But that's only my general approach. I mean, I want the words to be comprehensible, so obviously using speech rhythms is the best way to do that. That's how you're going to be able to understand the words if they sound more or less as they would when spoken, from a rhythmic point of view, from a speed point of view as well. But there's lots of examples of my doing the opposite as well, because after all, I am writing a piece of music, and sometimes for effect I will deliberately delay a syllable, or even occasionally misstress something, as long as I'm pretty sure it'll still be understood. People sometimes talk about Stravinsky and his word setting in English in the Rake's Progress, the opera, and in some other late works where he set English, like the cantata, for instance, and how he would get the stresses wrong, and because he was Russian and he didn't really have the feel for the language. But I was told by somebody who is in fact Russian that he used to do this in Russian too, and it wasn't that he didn't understand the stresses of English. It was just that's the way he wrote music, and that's what he wanted to do. It's absolutely the composer's right to as long as the words aren't in copyright and the poet doesn't object, to do anything to the words to make a piece of music. It is a piece of music you're writing after all, and the words still exist. The poem can still be read. You're not destroying it, except possibly for the duration of your piece. I don't want words that I'm setting to music to be too complex structurally, syntactically, I mean, because that's going to lead you into all sorts of trouble or complications. And I don't, for the same reason, I don't really want them to be too formal. So I've never been able to quite come at a way of setting Peter Porter, for instance, although he's one of my favourite poets. But on the other hand, another of my favourite poets is Hugo Williams. And he is, I couldn't set him to music either, but for the opposite reason, he's so colloquial. So it's a kind of balance, I guess, that I'm looking for. Maybe there needs to be something vaguely declamatory in the poem that sort of seems to make it want to be sung. But it's hard to put my finger on it, but I know it when I find it, absolutely.